Welcome. Here is another video about SMMware, software for handling sales, project management, operations, and more for small to medium-sized businesses. Today we'll discuss associate profiles in SMMware. Okay, let's begin. Starting out here on the home page, we'll move to the Associates drop-down. If you are interested in the recording of hours and mileage and expenses, please see our separate video, which goes into that in detail. Right now we're going to go to the Associate Manager. Here I'll point out that SMMware will tell you how many active users you have and how many you are allowed. The default listing will show you only your active users. To see the other inactive users as well, just go ahead and click on Show All. You can tell that a user is inactive because they have an entry under the termination date. Otherwise, they will be labeled as active. You'll notice that some employees have the delete button grayed out and others have it active. Once an employee has entries in the system for hours, expenses, and so on, they cannot be deleted, but they can be made inactive. Let's go ahead and look at the details of an associate profile. In the upper left-hand corner, you see a small green icon in this case, which means that they have already been copied over to QuickBooks, in this case QuickBooks Online, but it would be the same symbol if you're integrated with QuickBooks Desktop. And if you're not integrated with QuickBooks, you just wouldn't see any symbol at all. If this person had not been copied to QuickBooks already, there'd be a button here allowing you to do so if you wanted. Now moving down the page, I'll point out the question mark icon. If you mouse over that without clicking on it, you'll get a pop-up, a tooltip with more details about that field, and you'll see these question mark icons throughout SMMware, and they're very handy to use. Here we have the employee type. This particular setting does not have an influence on other aspects of the system. It's really more of a standalone issue, except for the vehicle, which affects how the mileage can be charged. And people do create a pseudo associate profile when they want to use vehicles for scheduling and other purposes for charging for mileage. Moving along, we have our job code levels drop-down. SMMware provides 4 job codes, and these can be divided up into chunks or levels. And the purpose is that lower level employees won't be able to enter job codes that are meant for higher level employees. The different levels that you have will be defined in your settings editor, and a given employee can be assigned one of them here. When someone leaves the company, you can set a date under the last exit date. So if you have someone who's seasonal and they leave for the summer, you can put a date in, and if they come back, you can blank that out, which makes them active again. If you have somebody who only works the front office and never actually goes out on an event, rather than having their name show up in the list of employees when you're defining the attendees for an event, you can simply set this invitable drop-down to no. Looking at our phone numbers, mousing over the question mark, we can see that if we put the description of cell or mobile here, that SMMware will be willing to send text messages to that phone number. Otherwise, SMMware assumes that this is a landline that does not accept text messages. Below, we have a row of custom fields. In this case, the labels are set to emergency contact name and so on, but you can set those as you like. Those are in the settings editor, which we'll cover later on. Below that we have pay levels, and there's enough to talk about there that we have a complete separate video for that. If you're interested in learning more about pay levels, we refer you to that. The next row has the typical username, password, and confirm password fields. The only requirement for a password in SMMware is 8 characters minimum at this time. Here we have the contact via dropdown, which refers to sending notifications via email or text or both. And it works in conjunction with the phone number and phone number description field above. To the right of that we have our admin level dropdown, which is kind of a master switch. The levels that you will see are team lead, normal user, team leader, admin, senior admin, and company owner. By default, admin and senior admin have the same effect within the system, but you can make changes to make them different. When you change one of the master level values, it can affect the lower level permissions defined in these green rows below. Going over those in detail, we have the sales role privilege, which affects whether someone can see the sales leads. We have the marketing role privileges, which right now only affect access to MailChimp commands if you're integrated with MailChimp. HR role privileges affects whether somebody can see the entire associate profile. If you have no privileges whatsoever, you can still visit the profile. Everything will be grayed out except for the phone number and the email address, which is there for contact purposes. Moving on to the scheduling role, everyone has a calendar on their home page, which they always have access to. This drop-down refers to the company level master calendar and whether someone can have any access to it at all, read, write, or just none. The next two rows are fairly self-explanatory, and we're going to focus here on the bottom row. You will only see this bottom row if you have company owner level privileges. The first drop-down lets you indicate that someone is going to be a QuickBooks Online admin or QuickBooks Desktop admin if you are integrated with QuickBooks Desktop. Normally every expense is assumed to use a single company credit card, but you can use this next drop-down to indicate that someone has a credit card of their own. And lastly, the Google Admin drop-down refers to whether somebody can connect and disconnect from Google, which is the main command. That's the main command that affects Google. Once the Google integration is in place, then any calendar changes will be transmitted up to Google Calendar, regardless of whether the person making the change has this permission. This permission is just about connecting and disconnecting. Down here at the bottom of the page, we have a file manager. Any files uploaded here will only be visible for the higher level HR level users. And lastly, we have the history of hourly rates. This goes through the system and gathers up all the different pay levels someone has been paid at, the date they were last paid that amount per hour, and the total number of hours they've been receiving that rate. Now we'll go ahead and take a look at the settings that are relevant for associates. In this case, it's just the one. We'll go to Admin and Settings. Then we'll go down to Section 13, Associate Custom Fields. Here we have the 4 custom fields. This is where we set the labels. And we have the checkbox here for whether that row should show or not in the associate profile. And that concludes our introduction to associate profiles in SMMware. To find out more, visit our YouTube channel at youtube.com/SMMware for more videos about specific features of SMMware. Visit our website at www.smware.com. or you can call us at 240-285-4619 with questions or to arrange a demo. We appreciate your time and hope to talk to you soon.